Now, wait a minute right there, Buster. Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Why on earth are you watching this video and still not subscribed? Hit that subscribe and notification bell right now, or else your team is going to trade for Tua Tagovailoa. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the support and everything. And now you can enjoy the video. One of the big elephants addressed in going into the entire NFL offseason, something that's plaguing the entire NFL world, is the injury status of quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Him tearing his ACL in Week 15 is kind of like a giant cloud hanging over the entire NFL world because it is not known for sure if Mahomes is going to return to his MVP GOAT level status and continue to win Super Bowls and playoff games, or if this injury is just one too many things for Mahomes and his career could be altered like forever, to be honest. And as we know in the NFL, history repeats itself a lot, or pretty much just in every single reality. There have been tons of injuries throughout the NFL. It's almost like clockwork. A bad injury happens pretty much every week in the NFL. But today on this channel, we're going to look at the positive side, the glass half full mentality. As we know, even though there have been many injuries throughout NFL history, a lot of those players have been able to bounce back and be able to triumph above that injury and still continue to have a great career. And today, I'm going to be looking at 7 of the most iconic injury comebacks in the NFL in which they started injured and then they were still able to triumph. Welcome back to No Huddle, and welcome to the greatest injury comebacks in NFL history. So first, I believe we should get the obvious one started. Let's talk about the GOAT of the NFL, Tom Brady. We all know that in 2008, Week 1, Tom Brady tore his ACL after having such a great MVP campaign, thanks to this absolute prick and bastard Bernard Pollard. And then in 2009, Brady was finally able to come back, and he did win Comeback Player of the Year in 2009, but of course, we know what he went on to become. He ended up winning 2 more MVPs in 2010 and 2017. He ended up winning 4 more Super Bowls, going to 6 more in total, and then he ended up winning in 2014, 16, 18, and 2020. He became the all-time leading passer and touchdown thrower and completions, basically having every single quarterback accomplishment to his name. He is number 1. And of course, Brady, pretty much since 2009, has had an entire Hall of Fame career. He is basically the poster boy for quarterbacks in terms of being able to rebound from an injury. But looking at a non-quarterback ACL injury, we look at Adrian Peterson. He suffered a horrific ACL tear on around Christmas of 2011. Now, of course, ACL injuries are very tough. I personally never had one, but obviously the average Joe, the average rehab, especially at the time in 2012, it takes about a year to rehab from a full ACL tear. Nevertheless, to return to fully playing NFL football. But of course, this freak of nature known as Adrian Peterson, he came back in record time. And in 2012, he was able to return just in time for Week 1 of the NFL season. It took him around 9 months to rehab, which is absolutely insane for the time. And he didn't just thrive. He was absolutely legendary. He abused defenses just like he abused his... that might be a little too far. In 2012, Adrian Peterson had one of the greatest seasons in running back history, having the second most yards of rushing of any running back ever, winning the MVP, averaging 6 yards per carry. It's just such an incredible story. He is still the latest non-quarterback player in the NFL to win the MVP. That was around 14 years ago. And it's just crazy how a guy who tore his ACL not even a year ago went on to dominate the NFL and win the MVP with this Vikings team that really probably wasn't really meant to do much. It's honestly one of the crazier rehab stories in maybe even sports history. Going back to quarterbacks, I want to take a look at one of the Manning brothers, and that is the big forehead himself, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was obviously a legendary quarterback in the Indianapolis Colts, but unfortunately in 2011, he ended up having a brutal neck injury which kept him out in the entire 2011 campaign. He ended up needing surgery and he missed out on the entire season. This caused the Colts to quit on Peyton Manning, and he couldn't really get a good farewell season or good farewell in general, and they basically just pushed him out the back door in favor of tanking for another prospect in Andrew Luck. Peyton Manning ended up signing for the Denver Broncos, and in his final 4 years of his career, he completely proved the Colts wrong and basically showed that he was still a legendary quarterback. He finished second in MVP voting behind AP in 2012. He won MVP in 2013, having one of the greatest quarterback seasons, maybe the greatest season in NFL history. And in 2015, he capped off his legendary career with his second Super Bowl title. Now, it was technically the corpse of Peyton Manning, but hey, a Super Bowl ring is a Super Bowl ring, and he was able to get his much-deserved farewell at the hands of the Denver Broncos. And overall, in this 4-year span, he had one of the better 4-year spans that really any quarterback has ever had, especially with the Denver Broncos. As for the Colts, they were able to get their legendary prospect, but unfortunately, Andrew Luck is not one of our players here as he suffered many, many injuries, and his NFL career was unfortunately cut short. So the Colts, they kind of got the short end of the stick. For my fourth comeback, I wanted to look at a defensive player because the NFL obviously has multiple sides to it. I want to look at Nick Bosa, who was kind of a more recent example. Nick Bosa in 2020, after a great rookie year, ended up tearing his ACL on the dreaded MetLife Stadium turf. But then after that, he ended up rebounding and he came back to be the same dominant player that he's always been throughout his career, having basically a bunch of all-pro caliber seasons, including winning Defensive Player of the Year in 2022 and pretty much being a huge factor in the 49ers making the Super Bowl in 2023. Overall, he's just been such a dominant player. He's been one of the best defensive players in the NFL despite this injury. And now, while he did get hurt once again this year, I believe he might have torn his ACL once again. If history shows something, I believe Nick Bosa will be able to bounce back and still be such a dominant defensive player. Sticking on the category of these crazy white boys, we got Rob Gronkowski, arguably the greatest tight end in NFL history, being such a dominant player, one of the most dominant threats we've ever seen in this sport. Unfortunately, injuries caught up to him. A gruesome knee injury kept him out for the end of 2013, but then he was able to bounce back in 2014 and have an incredible year, even winning the Super Bowl, being an absolute touchdown machine, being the GOAT tight end. Unfortunately, he would suffer another injury in 2016. He would have another leg injury, if I'm correct, it was actually a back injury in which he needed to have surgery, and that kept him out for the entire year. Now, luckily, the Patriots were able to win the Super Bowl without him, so I guess there's a silver lining. But luckily, Gronk was able to come back in 2017 and have an incredible season after that. Him and Brady both made All-Pro honors, and he redeemed him not being in the Super Bowl with him having an absolute masterclass against the Eagles in Super Bowl 52. Overall, 2 big injuries for Gronk, and both times he was able to bounce back. Now, unfortunately, the injuries got to him a little bit too much as he retired twice, came back for Tampa Bay, and then retired again. It's just when you're so dominant, so many players, they have to go low on you because that's the only way that they can stop them. And then that ended up deteriorating his body. But Gronk, he put up an incredible fight. Even after all these injuries, he was still able to come back and have so many incredible moments and still come up clutch to win a bunch of Super Bowls as he has 4 to his name. To be honest, I still think Gronk is the greatest tight end in NFL history. For my sixth comeback, I wanted to look at a guy that is known for being very injured all the time. There are a lot of players that have the injury-prone label, and none of them have fought through the adversary like Christian McCaffrey. We know McCaffrey is an incredible talent. He's been productive every single time he's been on the field, but unfortunately, he wasn't on the field for that much time, especially early in his career. An ankle injury kept him out for a lot of 2020 and for a lot of 2021, and he kind of had that injury-prone label for a very long time until he got to the San Francisco 49ers when everything turned around. He was finally able to stay healthy for once. He became an absolute touchdown machine. It felt like he scored a touchdown every single game. He was huge in leading the Niners to the Super Bowl in 2023 along with Nick Bosa and all the other guys. He even made a run at MVP. He finished, I believe, third in MVP voting in 2023. You could argue he would have won it. And it looked like he had just shaken off that entire narrative, that he was just back to being this absolutely legendary and freakishly good football player. Unfortunately, the injuries would come back. A very unknown and very low-key calf injury would keep him out for a lot of 2024. It would hinder his progression a lot. And then he ended up injuring his knee later that year, which kept him out for the entire year. And now it felt like 2022 and 23 were kind of aberration years, as now he was finally back to being very injury-prone and not as productive. Now, luckily, in 2025, he was once again able to bounce back. He became the dominant player once again, even though he started getting the ball a lot more. He was catching and running like crazy. He put up 2,000 yards in scrimmage, just an absolutely insane total, especially for someone that recently had been so hurt. He won Comeback Player of the Year easily, was huge in winning a playoff game against the Eagles, and now, hopefully, I believe that he should be back to being healthy once again, unless it just keeps the cycle of him being hurt one and then healthy another. I personally hope it's not, because an injured Christian McCaffrey is just bad for the NFL. And for me, a healthy Christian McCaffrey, he's on pace to have his name, to have a bus named after him in Canton, Ohio. And for my last comeback of the day, I wanted to look at one of the best feel-good stories in the NFL. It's just a redemption arc that we can all agree was just incredible. And of course, I am talking about Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a very solid quarterback. He was the predecessor to Patrick Mahomes on the Kansas City Chiefs, but then they ended up letting him go, and he ended up signing for the Washington Redskins at the time in 2018. And after having a very good year, or he was having a good year, he ended up having a very, very bad knee injury on FedEx Field turf, which is one of the most notorious bad turfs in the entire NFL. But of course, Alex Smith ended up having a horrible leg injury, which kept him out for the entire year. He needed to have this giant brace on it. It was just horrifying. But that's just not where it ends there, because unfortunately, a part of Alex Smith's leg ended up getting infected. Yes, his leg did in fact look like this. So now Alex Smith's career wasn't just in jeopardy, his life was in jeopardy. It was just a horrible sight to see, and it felt like it was just incredibly sad that Alex Smith, we may just lose him like that. Now, obviously, by the grace of God, we were able to keep Alex Smith in the world with us. He was able to survive. The surgeries went all well. He's now alive and healthy. He was doing well. And what was the greatest part of this story? He was able to come back in 2020 and still play for the Washington football team. He easily won Comeback Player of the Year in 2020, even though he only played 6 games. Now, while he wasn't the most impressive in these 6 games, he did go 5-1 in them, so that's pretty impressive, but the numbers aren't overall crazy. The fact that, he did also retire after 2020. The fact that he had this gruesome leg injury and he was on the verge of losing his life, and then he was still able to come back and still produce at a decently good level in the NFL, that's just commendable. That might be the best story of them all, even if he didn't win the Super Bowl or a playoff game. We all salute you, Alex Smith, because what you did, we all appreciate you. And that, my friends, are some of the greatest comebacks in NFL history in terms of injuries. If you guys enjoyed this and thought that this video was good, please subscribe and please like, as any support is truly appreciated. Comment any other injury comebacks that I may have missed that were also incredible in terms of redemption stories. And I will see you all in the next one.